The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Shady Rays. Go to shadyrays.com and use promo code SGPN for 50% off of 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Monday, April 10th, currently 4:05 on the East Coast. Here to break down the NBA playoffs. We have 4 matchups that we know of for sure. Of course, still waiting for the results of the play-in tournaments that will start on Tuesday. But hey, we're going to break down the 4 series. We'll give you all of our playoff series predictions for those 4 matchups. I'll talk about some series props and all that fun stuff. We're here. It's playoff time. But joining me here on this episode, you guys know him as the superstar of the show, the villain. It's Terrell Furman Jr. Terrell, what's going on, my man?
Oh, it's great. And you know why it's great? Because we've been on the right side over the course of all year. The tally is done, the numbers are checked. The Utah Jazz were the first place team ATS over the course of the season. Thank you very much. And the Miami Heat were the last place team ATS over the course of the season.
They were tied,
Thank
I
you very
think.
much.
Weren't they tied with Dallas?
Either way,
I
we
think.
still win there.
Yeah.
Because we've done pretty good.
I'm saying we
of
faded
them.
both those teams, so we
Yeah.
might have actually won. We might have had both of the
Hey,
last
you
place
didn't
teams
get your
as well.
intro yet. You didn't get your intro yet. I need you to stop talking. This is my intro.
Okay. I thought you were gonna pull out a prop already, so I got anxious.
No, just iPad day.
Oh, okay.
Also joining us, you guys heard the voice there. It's Scott, Studio Right Show. Scott, what's going on, my man? Now you can rebuttal.
Yeah, it's all good. It wasn't really a rebuttal. It was because we were fading the Mavericks as well, so it was kind of just adding another team to the list that we were on the right side of throughout the year. Looking forward to the playoffs, mostly because you actually know who's going to play game in, game out. For the most part, shout out to Rudy Gobert. But still, pretty interesting day in the NBA. You already had the news with Gobert. You had the news with McDaniels officially having a fracture in his hand. Weird moments for Minnesota. The trade gets worse every day. But looking forward to the postseason play, and I'm sure all of you are as well.
Yeah, obviously we saw the incident yesterday with the Minnesota Timberwolves sideline between Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert. Fast forward to this morning, where we get news that the Minnesota Timberwolves have suspended Rudy Gobert for 1 game, which is going to be that play-in tournament game against the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not sure if it really makes a huge difference on the court for the Minnesota
Well,
Timberwolves.
it does because Nas Reed's out, so they don't have a backup center either.
Yeah. So they may be compromised a
Luka
little
Garza.
bit.
Luka Garza.
Oh yeah, they got Luka Garza. Yeah, put some respect on the Iowa man.
Man, can't wait to see him in the TBT in another 2 years. He's gonna be great.
I can't wait for him and Zach Edey to battle it out.
Oh my gosh, Zach Edey and
Pretty
Luka
hype.
Garza in the TBT is gonna be amazing.
I don't know if you guys want to expand on it. I really don't have much to add there. Terrell, you want to add anything to the little scuffle that we saw between Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert?
Well, I mean, we can go ahead and add. So, I think that we've had our first repeat offender that has found themselves in the category of these dudes that really ain't trying to fight for real.
Do you get bonus points for
And-
teammates, or do you lose points for teammates?
Oh no, you get no. It's it's not. We're not gonna compromise. It's at the end of the day, you can fight your teammates and it's fine. You don't get any extra points. You don't lose anything. It's no add or against, nothing like that. But and Kyle Anderson figured out very quickly that if you call somebody a bitch, you have a very short amount of time before you figure out whether that person is wrong or not. Shout out to Bomani Jones. You have a very short amount of time to figure out if that person is wrong or not. I think that was probably one of the weakest punches that I've seen. Granted, he had a large distance to make up. So we're factoring that into the occasion. He did have a large distance to make up, but he didn't follow up with another one. Like, he just wanted one. And I don't think Rudy Gobert sees himself as a one-hitter quitter. Like, I don't think he thinks that he's like one punch man or anything. So very concerned why he didn't follow up with another. But I, he just didn't want it. He felt like he had to do it for his manhood, but he didn't really want to fight for real. And it's fine. It's fine because there's a lot of people, including yourself, that are in the category of these dudes really ain't trying to fight for real. So just stop. Please, just stop.
Scott, anything you want to add?
I've already been a proud member of the Kyle Anderson fan club for the last 2-3 months. Nothing's really changed for me. I'm on board. We're taking applications if you want to join the fan club. But yeah, I just like him a lot as a player. I think Kyle Anderson wasn't wrong either. He challenged Gobert and said, do something. And Gobert responded back to him. And then Anderson called him a bitch. And to be honest, I feel like even though that might sound a little bit harsh, that's a fair description of Rudy Gobert. Can we say that?
Sure.
I feel like that's a pretty fair way to put it. At least I'll paraphrase. We think he's soft.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty well-known way of describing Gobert throughout the entire league. And that's kind of what Kyle Anderson called him. Now, he used a different word, which might, challenge a manhood a bit more. But the argument was block a shot, do something. And I feel like Kyle Anderson wasn't wrong when he said it. Now, they won the game without him, which I think is kind of funny. But the problem is they have a matchup against the Lakers. And, of course, now they have to guard Anthony Davis without Gobert or without Naz Reid. And luckily for them, they need to win one of the next 2 games to make the playoffs. So we'll see if they can get it done. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to lose out. But still, I can say that I'm totally surprised that Gobert did something that cost his team. I wasn't expecting this. But at the same point, I've been calling this arguably the worst trade in NBA history for about 5 months. It's definitely bottom 2, bottom 3. I think it's worse than the Paul George trade. I think it's worse than the Paul Pierce KG trade. We're only in year 1. This is year 1. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. Yeah, I just think Minnesota had a bright future and immediately blew the future up in the span of about 3 months. That's how I look at this in hindsight.
Can we already classify this as the worst trade in NBA history?
I think it's up there. I'm trying to think of how they can actually surpass it because there were some bad trades back in the day when you had poor franchises that basically sold off players for money. You had the Dr. J trade, for example, with the Nets. They got rid of him because they couldn't afford him anymore. Moses Malone got traded from Philly, and he won a couple titles there. That's also an all-time bad trade. In modern NBA history, I think this is the worst trade in the last 40 years or so. As bad as the Nets trade was and the Paul George trade was, at least each team won a playoff series. I'm not sure when Minnesota's going to win a playoff series or if they're going to win a playoff series. This might be their future for the next X amount of years because Gobert's going to get worse sooner than he's going to get better.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, any thoughts on that? The man is pondering.
I'm trying to think of some all-time bad trades. Well,
the Moses Malone one is known as being one of the worst trades in the history of the league, going way back in the day. That might be the benchmark of bad trades.
Paul George, I think, deserves a conversation because they had championship aspirations, and they're not even close.
But is the argument they only got Kawhi because they made the trade, so you're factoring that in?
Or did they...
Because you can make that case, because Kawhi specifically requested Paul George, allegedly, and that's kind of how it went. They were a duo.
Yeah.
I'm not defending the trade for the Clippers, but I'm going to at least acknowledge that part of it was getting Kawhi indirectly in that trade.
Yeah, but that didn't do anything for you. You're in the same spot you was in before.
They made the Western Conference Finals one time, if that counts. It's not what they wanted, but at least they've made a somewhat, I don't say respectable run. But
I'll give it to you for now.
The point is, at least
and the Paul George one is like, and looking at where Shea is at right now, the Paul George one, that's what really is getting it. Looking at where Shea is at right now, if Shea wins a playoff series with OKC, then I'm classifying that as the worst trade.
Okay,
because if he wins one playoff series with OKC, imagine everything they could have did with them in LA. So if Shea wins one playoff series, then I got to move the Paul George one back.
Once again, I think the Clippers trade was horrible, especially with how good Shea's become, and a lot of the picks haven't even happened yet. Ed mentioning the Pau Gasol trade. That's also a good one to mention with Minnesota. They
Hmm.
gave up Kwame Brown. They should be, the
Hey.
Stephen A. Smith reaction there to the trade.
Yeah.
They resulted
Yeah.
in a championship or two for the Lakers.
Wow,
That is a really
Minnesota.
bad
Yeah,
one. That's a good point.
Oh no.
That is a really good one.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a fair
It might
point.
be the Paul Gasol trade. Oh,
The
it's
truth is, we
definite-
can't fully.
They won multiple championships with
Yeah.
Paul Gasol.
We
Yep.
can't fully discuss how bad the trade is for the Clippers and the Timberwolves yet until we see what happens with the draft picks that have not taken place yet. So there's still a lot to unpack over the next couple of years. At least Paul George made an all-star game or two. He was an all-NBA caliber guy. Gobert's in year one, and it seems like nobody wants him.
In the defense of my point, you got all of that in one guy, and you still haven't won a championship.
Yes. No, I understand your point. Once again, I'm not defending the Clippers because I still think the trade's horrible. But if you're asking which trade's worse now, has Gobert's extension even kicked in yet?
I think it does.
Is that kicking next year?
I think it's next year.
His extension kicks in next year, and nobody wants him. And he's punching teammates. I think right now that trade's worse, in my opinion. But shout out to Ed, though. The Pau Gasol trade definitely is worthy of a mention that I would have forgotten about. That's a good call.
Yep. All right, guys. Before we get into our playoff betting preview here, let me tell everyone about Shady Rays. Kick off the new year with new gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much more. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair that we've worn. Durable frames, extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by the lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. With Shady Rays, you can look good and feel good. To date, they have donated over 20 million meals to fight hunger with Feeding America. And if you don't love them, exchange it for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the new year. Go to shadyrays.com and use promo code SGPN for 50% off of 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. All right, gentlemen, let's get into our NBA playoffs betting preview. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, we'll go through the 4 series that we know are set in stone for sure. You guys want to start with the East or you guys want to start with the West? I'll leave it to you guys.
I'll let the Knicks fan decide.
Terrell, what are you thinking? East or West?
Shoot. I mean, let's just go ahead and start with the West.
All right. So we'll start with the higher seed. We'll start with the Sacramento Kings as the 3 seed. They are going to be hosting, or do have home court advantage at least, against the defending champions, the Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors. I can see Scott is already, he's tickling to shut this Golden State Warriors team down.
I just think the odds are fascinating that you're about to mention. So,
so to mention the odds for this playoff series, currently I am seeing the Golden State Warriors are favored at minus. Give me a second.
What was it, like 240?
Minus 290 is what I'm seeing now.
Okay.
Yeah, minus 290 for the Warriors to win the series, plus 225 on the Sacramento Kings. Scott, lead us off, man. What are you thinking about this series? And we'll kind of break it down X's and O's, and then we'll get into some prop bets that we do like for the series.
So I think the series is very close for the record. I think no matter who wins, it's going 6 or 7. I don't see either team getting blown out here. I think the Kings with the home court should be able to win a couple home games. Golden State also, I'll wait to see them win a road game before I suddenly expect them to sweep or win in 5. The thing is, do I think Sacramento is actually ready for the moment? Because they have a pretty young roster, and even the veteran guys they have don't exactly have much playoff experience. Harrison Barnes does. In fact, most people blame him for the Warriors losing in Game 7 to the Cavs, but that's a separate story because he went like 0 for 7 from 3. But he's been in a lot of playoff series. He has a ring. Now you're looking at Sabonis. He was in a couple of series there with the Pacers. I'm not sure if he ever made it past the first round. They kept running into LeBron. They lost a couple times in 7. I'm not sure if Sabonis has ever made it to the second round of the playoffs. And I don't remember if he was ever in the playoffs with the Thunder when he was there in the early part of his career. But they don't have much experience. And I do think that could come back to bite them over the long course of this series. The more that I think about it, I do think Golden State does possess some matchup problems for Sacramento. Now, Sabonis, we know, should do his thing, but Looney's been very good lately. I think Wiggins coming back is one of the most overrated storylines because he hasn't played in about 2 months. Yep. He's going to walk off this. I know he's been working out and et cetera, but he's supposed to walk into game action and suddenly give you immediate contributions playing 30-plus minutes a game. I don't buy that. I think I am going to lean to Golden State. However, 290 is absurd. 290 is a ridiculous price for a 6 seed that is 11-30 on the road to win a series. That's insane to me. I'm going to go ahead and lean Warriors, but I will take Warriors in either 6 or 7. I think they'll steal one road game, and I'm not sure Sacramento is going to win a road game. That's how I look at it. But I do think at the end of the day, these odds are ridiculous. And I think it should be closer to Warriors minus 130. I see a really close series, but I'm going to lean to Golden State.
Should I mention at the before we started talking about this series that the Warriors did win the season series 3-1. They were only 1-3 against the spread. The total was 2-1-1 towards the under.
Golden State still has the longest active playoff streak, right? For most playoff series with a road win.
The Warriors do?
Yeah, I believe they still have it's current, but they have the all-time record for most playoff series won most playoff series with a road game that they won. They've won a road game in the most amount of playoff series in a row in the history of the league. I think they'll find a way to win one, but it's a close series. 290 though is offensive. That's offensive to Sacramento. If you're taking the money line price now on the series, the value's on Sacramento.
I feel like I know where Terrell is going with this, but Terrell, what do you got for this series? Golden State Warriors against the Sacramento Kings.
I just think it's so funny. I just think it's so funny
the entire time, and I'm picking them.
And I said earlier this season that I didn't care about their road record during the regular season because the playoffs are the playoffs. And Scott said, no, I can't trust you with this bad of a road record. He went on about it, and he just sat there and took the Warriors. Oh, my God.
A big reason why, though, was I really was not impressed by how the Kings ended the regular season. The Warriors had not played many good teams. So I do think that their recent run really doesn't mean much to me, but they have done well in the head-to-head. It's mostly Sacramento really not looking good with a shot to potentially steal the 2 seed away. They really haven't been playing good basketball for the last couple of weeks, and that does concern me a little bit. But it is the lack of experience I have to mention. So, yes, maybe I'm a bit of a hypocrite as we got closer to the playoffs, but I really liked the Kings' form a month ago compared to now, and I am a bit concerned that they might have peaked about a month or two ago, and they're going to run into an experienced team that might just punch them in the mouth, and I am concerned that the Kings might blink. So I am going to lean to the Warriors, but once again, it's mostly because of how underwhelming I found Sacramento over the past couple of weeks.
Terrell, thoughts on this series?
Okay, now I'll get to my point. And I think that where I feel the most discomfort is in the price. I think the price is absolutely absurd for
290
minus 290. So here's how we're going to play this. And we're going to take Sacramento plus 1.5 games now, plus 135. And that's simply solely based off of, what the form was in the regular season. You talk about the Lakers, how they were bad, they were on the road. Look at Sacramento. Sacramento is one of 2 teams, including the Clippers, who were really only 1 game above 500, that were above 500 in the Western Conference on the road. They know how to go out there and play on the road. And so if I sit here, is there not a world of possibility where basically for the first, 4 games of this series that the home team wins every game? Is that not a world of possibility? And so I just think the plus 135 is too much of a value for a series that I can easily see going to 7. I don't think Golden State has what they have capable to just get teams up out of here, and it's going to be somewhat competitive. Now, do we get a bad loss, and this maybe is it over in 6? Possibly. But I still like the chances of Sacramento to either win the series outright or at the very least get us to 7. So plus 1.5 feels fine right there. Now, where we know Sacramento is winning game 1. I
better
think
win
we
game
know
1.
that.
If they
I
lose
think we
game
know
1, they
that.
might get swept. Like, as crazy as that sounds, because
Sacramento, after all this time,
it's what, like
everybody's
20
going to be
years,
there.
give or take?
Chris Webber's going to be there. Everybody's going to be there.
Vlade Divac is going to be there.
Bibby, maybe? Doug
Page.
Christie?
Everybody's going to be there. They might sweep the 2 at home, and I'm really not going to be surprised. And at that point, if we're not already on the Warriors, depending on what that adjusted price is, because it's minus 290 now, so I really don't know what that price is going to be after game 1. It still might not be a plus money where I want it to be. But if we get 2, we're absolutely back in on the Warriors. 100%. We're 100% because this is, at the end of the day, this is still a championship team with people from that championship the year before. They've been to the playoffs before. They've been down in series before. They know how to come back. The hardest part about being a new team in the playoffs is playing when you're up. That is the hardest part in the NBA. When you're a new team, you haven't been there, done that before, and you're up against somebody in a series and you got to try to close it out. Hardest thing for a team to do. So I think that's the game script that happens here. Sacramento goes up early in the series, and then we see the championship DNA of the Warriors take over, and that leads us to either a game 7 or the Warriors just go ahead outright winning the series. But by that point, we already got a nice price on the Warriors. So Sacramento plus 1.5 for now. We come back on the Warriors after they lose one or both of these first road games.
Just for the record, by the way, the Kings are right now a 1-point favorite at home in game 1.
I
Yes.
think that line flipped because I feel like the Warriors opened as a 1-point favorite, didn't they?
They did. It did.
Unless Wiggins is not active in game 1 and they just decided to move it. I'm assuming that he will play, but you don't know how much. But I do want to ask because there are some props available, which we'll get into in a second. If you were tempted to take Golden State, do you think there's value on Kings game 1, Warriors win series, or would you rather potentially just take it before the series starts? Because you mentioned how Sacramento is going to have one of the craziest playoff atmospheres we've seen probably in a while, because it's been roughly 20 years.
Yeah.
So assuming the Kings get up for game 1, I don't know how much the lines are going to completely dive for the Warriors if they lose game 1. Do you think you're better off taking the wait and see approach or taking Kings game 1 kind of in a prop parlay sense with Warriors to win the series after losing game 1?
I don't think I want to take that now just because I do think it's a pretty good chance that the Kings still win this series. I just not going to ignore the value of taking the Warriors down 0-2 in a series, but I still kind of lean Kings for the winner of this series. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, I don't think I would be shocked if the Kings did win the series. But everything that you guys did mention, that Terrell, you mentioned that this Warriors team knows how to play from behind. I think that's definitely in their favor. And I'm not saying that Sacramento is playing with house money here because they did finish as the number 3 seed in the Western Conference. So I think we were all high on this team coming into this season.
I wasn't this high, but I was high on them.
Yeah.
I was low on them. I was on the bottom. I thought they were going to be terrible. They
I know Munaf and I liked their win total over. We thought they might be a play-in team, but that was basically it.
So it almost feels like that. I mean, Sacramento's going to have to play defense. I mean, that sounds kind of cliched and kind of a dub point, but I don't think you can get into a shootout with the Warriors. Like, if you get into these high-scoring games, the Warriors, I think, will take you down because they have more scoring options than the Sacramento Kings do, in my opinion. Which kind of brings me to my next point.
We know what this comes down to, though.
Yeah.
This comes down to De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
This comes down to De'Aaron Fox. It does, because look at what the Warriors done while they were making this run at the end of the season, and they were down in a bunch of those games, and it was because of the fourth quarter that they were able, the second half / fourth quarter, that they were able to come back and win the game. This is De'Aaron Fox to win the series. If De'Aaron Fox has a great fourth quarter in a lot of these games, they're going home with this.
I think something to monitor is going to be how many minutes that De'Aaron Fox plays in these fourth quarters. I think that's going to be an interesting point to watch, or how Mike Brown kind of handles his rotations.
I'm on the Jake approach. I'm on the Jake approach. Whenever we get to the fourth quarter, I'm taking the over on De'Aaron Fox's points prop every single time.
Yeah, that makes sense. How much do you guys think that, I'm not saying an advantage, but how much of a key factor do you think that Mike Brown's familiarity with this team plays into this, or if it does at all? Scott, do you put any merit into that?
I don't know if it matters at all because Steve Kerr is very familiar with Mike Brown. So it kind of
Yeah.
cancels out when you look at it that way. Now, Brown was the head coach for a couple of playoff games there in the Memphis series because Kerr, what do you have, COVID? He had
I
COVID in
think,
the
yeah,
playoffs last year?
COVID, yeah, something like that, yeah.
So we had, of course, you can make an argument he has some familiarities with tendencies, and I am curious what the defensive game plan is going to be for Coach Brown because of the oxymoron that his team hasn't played any defense all year. You said the big Fox series, which I agree with because of the fourth quarter. I really think the series is going to come down to Jordan Poole. I said a couple weeks ago that I think Golden State's going to go as far as Jordan Poole. I don't want to say takes them, but I think that as far or as willing Jordan Poole is to not become a double agent and completely kill this team. Because we know Jordan Poole is going to take a bunch of shots and he's going to make a bunch of ill-advised decisions that looks like he's going at 100 miles an hour and he can't slow down. It's how he plays. It is what it is. The point is, if Poole is going to go 4 for 15 in a couple of these games, they're going to lose because they're not good enough defensively to overcome it. If Poole has a couple of these great games that he had in the last week of the season, Golden State's going to do very well. And we saw in the last couple of games, Poole was pretty solid. He was awful in one of those games. I think it was against Sacramento. He was like 0 for 9, and the Kings hung around for 3 quarters using like half of their starting lineup and whatever. But in a series like this, if Poole shoots above 45%, I think Golden State wins the series. I think if he shoots around like 40% or somewhere around there, they're going to lose in 6 or 7 because Poole is going to take too many shots away from Clay and Curry, and he's not efficient enough with the ball that is going to come back and bite him. So I think the X factor of the series is Jordan Poole.
Terrell, any counters to that? And then we'll get into some series props here before we move on. But I know you mentioned, if you have anything to add about Jordan Poole and then any other series props that you may be looking at. I know you already mentioned +1.5 on the Kings.
No, I mean, I think that this comes down to which of these teams and their terrible defenses can find a way to put something together for the course of a series. So I'm looking over at you, Davion Mitchell. You're going to have a lot, like you're going to get a lot more minutes in this series probably. You can play yourself into a lot of minutes this series with the defense that you have on Jordan Poole, the defense that you have on Steph Curry. So we'll see how they do.
Scott, any other series props that you're looking at before we move on?
Well, I already mentioned that I am tempted by Kings to win game 1, Warriors to win the series. Probably the over in games. I got to see what the actual price is for. What's the price on 5.5 on the over?
I'm sure that one is pretty.
It's going to be a minus, but I'm curious what minus it is. If it's below like 160, I'll consider it.
-165.
Of course it is. Why am I not surprised by that? I'm going to lean over. I think it's going 6 or 7. Once again, I don't exactly expect to see one team completely boat race the other. Having said that, if Golden State wins game 1, Sacramento's got serious problems. And that's why I am leaning Golden State in the series. It's because I know that if Golden State gets down, they're not going to roll over. However, the Kings are so inexperienced, and there is a lot of pressure on Sacramento to win one, if not both of these home games because of what happens if you have to go back to Golden State and you're already down, needing to win a game there. I think the Kings could blink in game 1. If they do that, they might get swept. So just keep that in mind. It's not a play for now, but I am going to say if the Kings lose game 1, which we think they're not going to do, but if they lose game 1, keep an eye on Golden State in 4, because I really think the Kings might just roll over. And mentally, I don't want to say they're going to check out, but once doubt creeps in against an experienced playoff team, you're dead to rights. So I think if the Kings lose game 1, keep an eye on Warriors in 4.
I think that whichever team wins a road game is going to go on to win this series, because we can easily see, like Terrell was mentioning, that, or I don't know, Scott, I don't know if you mentioned that both teams could win every home game, and that just favors Sacramento because they do have home court advantage here.
I am going to ask you this, though. Which team do you think is more likely to win a road game? The Kings don't need to win a road game, but I'm asking
they both
you
win one.
hypothetically.
I think they both win one.
I think Golden State is more.
So do I. That's why I pick Golden State to win the series.
Yeah.
I think Golden State will defend home court, and I think that Sacramento will hit a bump in the road along the way. I hope I'm wrong. But once again, the money line value is on Sacramento. Golden State should not be -290. That's insane.
Terrell, you were mentioning?
No, I think they both win a road game. I'm going this to go 7. 2 plus 240. Plus 240 for it to be 7 games.
So you have the
Kinda
Kings to win the
going
series then.
No, it don't have to be I think they both win a road game.
You're saying minimum 1 road game, because if both are
minimum
going to
1
win a
road
road
game.
game, that means Golden State's winning 2 road games.
Yeah, I said they both win at least 1 road game.
Okay, I'm just saying, because by saying that, Golden State has to win 2.
Okay.
Okay, I'm making sure
That's at least 1. Okay. I'm trying to figure out where the confusion. Yeah, that's at least 1.
The confusion was you said a road game. I'm saying it's at least
I think they
one.
both win a road game. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So before we move on, let's get official series predictions before we move on. Scott, you got Golden State and how many?
I'm gonna go Golden State in 6.
Terrell?
Official
prediction.
I really want to go Kings, but I will cash my plus 1.5. Golden State 7. Plus 550.
Okay. I'm going to go Golden State in 6 as well for this series. All right, guys, before we get into the next series, let me tell everyone about Sword Vitality. Sword Vitality, self-care is cool. Self-care is manly. Be proud of taking care of yourself. 40% of men are affected by impotence at age 40, and nearly 70% of men are affected by the age of 70. Stop buying those highly suspect gas station pills. No more hiding that little blue pill in your sock drawer. You manscape, but you also take care of the plumbing. Sword Vitality helps increase your blood flow in ways that help you thrive as a man. It's time to become a Sword Vitality man if you aren't experiencing erections in the morning. Talking about Sword Vitality should be as comfortable as anything else men talk about with their partners. You like to hike, you watch football, you use Sword Vitality. There's no shame in the game. There's 3 main benefits when you do take Sword Vitality. That increases your blood flow in ways that help you thrive as a man in the bedroom. Sword Vitality can increase your stamina as well. And you don't have to hide it. You can be proud of it. Unsheath your sword. Visit swordvitality.com and use promo code SGPN for a nice discount at checkout. That's swordvitality.com. Promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Talkify. Life is full of what ifs. So what if you try something new when it comes to the dating game? You might be having bad luck. Those apps aren't working out for you. Talkify is a new way to meet other serious singles. And what if it helps you find what you're looking for? Are you having a hard time meeting great people to date? Why do you keep trying the same methods over and over again? That's going to set you up to fail. It's time to say goodbye to swiping and bring back the human touch to dating with Talkify. Talkify is a country's #1 modern-day matchmaking service that is designed to help you achieve relationship goals. Their trusted compatibility specialists hand select successful and compelling candidates so you can date consciously and productively. Here's how it works. The Talkify matchmakers meet with you. You learn about what you're looking for in a partner. Then they'll select and screen potential match candidates for you, doing background checks, video interviews, and asking the tough questions that are too awkward to ask on first dates. From there, your matchmaker plans your dates, introductions, and handles all the communication for you. You don't have to worry about all that. Creating a safe and stress-free dating experience. Talkify is committed to finding your match. 80% of clients met their person within the first 12 matches. And right now, exclusively for our listeners, you get 20% off when you become a client at talkify.com/SGPN. Again, that's TAWKIFY.com/SGPN for 20% off when you become a client. Talkify.com/SGPN. All right, guys, let's get into the next playoff series here in the Western Conference. That is going to be the Phoenix Suns. They finish up as a 4th seed in the regular season. They are going to be hosting the the Los Angeles Clippers. The season series was split 2-2. Phoenix Suns did cover 3 out of the 4 games, and the total was split at 2-2. But I think the bigger conversation here is that for most of those games, the Phoenix Suns did not have Kevin Durant. The Suns with Kevin Durant this season are 8-0. Clippers, we got news this morning, will more than likely, if not will be without Paul George for this first round of the series. Clippers 4-2 against the spread with Kawhi and without Paul George. last game of the season, these two teams did match up, but again, that was the game where the Phoenix Suns didn't have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton playing in this game because, again, no reason for those guys to play. Currently, guys, I am seeing that the Phoenix Suns are a minus 600 favorite to win this series. Clippers plus 400 to win the series. Terrell, lead us off here with this one. Do the Clippers have any chance of beating the Phoenix Suns in this series?
No. Like what? No, I don't think they have a chance. I think there is a possibility. And I think that's what everybody kind of wants to see, is that they make it interesting. But in all actuality, I don't think their defense is as good as years past. I don't think they have the offense. Like they keep trusting Marcus Morris with the ball, and clearly that's not working today's NBA. Keep trusting Eric Gordon with the ball. That's not working. Like, I mean, if they got swept, would you be surprised?
Not at all.
I guess we're just kind of banking on.
surprised.
We're kind of banking on Phoenix to have some growing pains and trying to figure out this roster and the adjustments Ty Lue normally makes in a series, but. I mean, we'll see. I don't think this is close. I'm not going to lie. I don't think this is close at all.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't dig too much into this. I think for me is that I think obviously Kawhi Leonard is going to get his. But at the same time, then you think about, okay, who is going to be that next guy that's going to step up for this team to take on some of the scoring responsibility or take some of that load off of Kawhi Leonard? I mean, you trust Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell, Eric Gordon, like you mentioned. I mean, if Paul George was in the series, maybe they win a game or two. But when you look at the other side for the Phoenix Suns, when you have a team that made a run to the NBA Finals, and I know their journey to that NBA Finals, where their opponents were missing guys that were injured. I think Jamal Murray was injured for the Denver Nuggets when they made that run, but when you look at the other side, you have Chris Paul, but then you have the task of trying to contain Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Like, you can't double team either one of those guys because the other guy is going to torch you. I think for me, I agree with you, Terrell. I think this was short and simple for me. I think it's either Phoenix in a sweep or it's Phoenix in 5 games. That's kind of where I'm at. Scott, where do you at with this series between the Suns and the Clippers?
I'm going to go with the Suns. You said, is there a chance the Clippers win the series? Yes, if Durant gets hurt again. But assuming he stays healthy, then no. I think Phoenix is going to win the series. Simply put, I don't think the Clippers are good enough defensively to match up with the guys that the Suns have with either Booker or Durant. Kawhi is a very good defender. Is he as elite as he used to be? No. There's also no guarantee Kawhi is going to stay healthy because they've been load managing him for most of the year, and we'll see what happens there. But Kawhi, we know, is going to get his, as you said before. So is Durant. So is Booker. And you're trying to think of who's going to step up for the Clippers. I mean, Russell Westbrook can play in the fourth quarter of games, but are you just going to rely on him to not be totally inefficient and to not only be that, but to be your second option to score? You need Norman Powell to have a massive series. Mm-hmm. But I think a problem you're going to run into is the fact that the Suns can score in a variety of positions. They got the shooting guards with Booker. They have the small forward, power forward situation with Durant. Even Ayton can score. Yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like the Clippers don't have enough stoppers to really keep up. And I do think at the end of the day, when you're looking at who's going to be used in which rotation and everything like that, we know that in most playoff series, Ty Lue is awful in games 1 and games 2. Games 1 and 2, he's typically horrible because he makes adjustments and then he tries to go from there. The problem is when you're against Durant and Booker, you can't voluntarily punt games 1 and 2, and I'm afraid that's going to happen. I think the Suns will go up 2-0, and I think that the Clippers will be unable to get enough stops against Durant. I think Durant's going to have one game, or maybe it's Booker, where somebody drops 40 and carries them to a road win, and I think that's the story. I think that Kawhi, if he's going to drop 40, he's going to take a bunch of shots, and I don't think they're going to stop get. I don't think they're going to get enough stops defensively. But you mentioned Eric Gordon. You mentioned some of the moves that they made at the deadline. I have not been overly impressed by the moves that they've made. So I'm going to go with Phoenix. I'll take the Suns in 5. If this turns into a somewhat of a competitive series, I wouldn't be totally surprised. But based on what I've seen from both teams and assuming full health, I'll take the Suns in 5. I think Phoenix will go up 2-0, and I think that hole will be too deep for the Clippers to climb out of.
I think it's telling when the books have Phoenix to win game 1 and win the series at minus 245 right
but
now.
We know Ty Lue doesn't care about game 1.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So currently, if you're looking at either Suns in a sweep plus 320, the favorite right now is Suns in 5 at plus 240. If you're looking at it to go that way. I mean, I really don't have much more to add. If you want to take a look at if this game or series is going to end in, I mean, they don't even have 4 games listed.
No way.
They
no,
don't.
they,
They
do.
have
No,
series,
they do not. They have
have
it listed.
serious
No, you're not about to. No, stop playing with me. You're not. You don't have. There's no way you don't have sweep listed.
Oh, I'm sorry. It goes 5, 6, 7, and then it goes 4 for some odd reason. I don't know why the books did that, but if you series exact games, 4 games is at 3-1, 5 games is at plus 220, and then series total games over under is set at 5.5. I think I like the under.
But see, the fact that the 4 games I feel like they're giving, now we have to bet sweep, because why are they giving this Clippers team so much credit like they can't get swept?
That's a fair point.
Yeah. Because I thought that the sweep would be at least the second highest odds, but you have it last is just telling me we have to bet sweep because they're giving this Clippers team way too much more credit than they deserve, especially when they're probably not going to have Paul George.
But just ask, what did you say the odds were again for sweep?
So and this is series exact games, right? 4 games is 3-1.
Okay.
And what's the others?
5 games, which I think most of us are agreeing here, is at plus 220.
That's either team to win in 4 or 5, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then if you want to go, I'm trying to find the exact.
I'm going to shop around and see if I can find any.
Plus 2. I see plus 220 for 5 games.
Yeah.
Plus 220 for 5 games, plus 260 for 6, plus 270 for 7, and plus 300 for 4. That's on DraftKings. There's no way. Like that's too much respect on the Clippers for them. I get that 3-1 on a sweep isn't really good odds at all whatsoever, but you can't tell me that that's the worst odds on the board. No way.
Yeah, so I think that's where I'm I think I'm gonna put down.
I think the lowest odds should be 7.
Lowest odds right now
I said it should be 7.
Yeah.
No. I'm saying the highest odds, whichever one is the least likely to happen. That should be 7.
Yeah.
Take the under 5.5.
Yeah. Take the under 5.5 at minus 110. Take the game to be in. I mean, you can get Phoenix minus 2.5 at plus 100. That gives you that wiggle room you're looking at. Yeah. They don't even offer a Phoenix minus 3.5. That is so lame. That is lame. You guys suck. Well, I shouldn't say that because we're trying to get a new sponsor. You might not suck that bad, but
well, you didn't say which specific book, so
I did.
Oh, you did. Whoops.
He did.
Okay, my bad.
Oh yeah, I did. 100%. All right, whatever. I'm taking the sweep because they're disrespecting this number at this point. Give me the sweep.
I'm trying to look to see if I could find a better price elsewhere. But
Suns plus 320 is what I see for Suns sweep.
I see Suns 3-0, 325.
Yeah, so a little bit more, about 5 cents more there, plus 325 for the Suns sweep. You guys have anything else for this? I mean, I think this was going to be a quick conversation for this series. So official predictions to how you're going in a sweep?
Yeah.
Scott?
The value might be on sweep, but I still think the Clippers win a game. So I'll go Suns in 5.
Yeah, I'm going to go Suns in a sweep as well. I'm with Terrell. I just don't think that there's a world where I think it's just too much firepower for the Phoenix Suns. Give me.
I think the Clippers get hot from 3 in 1 home game, and they'll win a home game. That's kind of how I look at it.
Okay. All right. Let's get over to the Eastern Conference now. Let's go, and we'll probably start with this one. It's probably more of a quicker conversation. The Philadelphia 76ers, they are going to be hosting the 6th seed, the Brooklyn Nets. Currently, I see the series winner price, and I mean, this is kind of disrespectful. Philadelphia 76ers minus 900 for them to beat the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets are plus 600.
It was minus 1,000.
Okay, so it's come down a little bit.
Initially, it was minus 1,000.
Okay. And then the Philadelphia 76ers minus 1.5. So for them to win by at least 5 or 6 games at minus 1.5 is minus 310. Scott, I will let you lead this off. You are the Brooklyn Nets fan. What are you thinking about this series? Do you give your guys any chance to steal a game or two, or even possibly upset the Sixers here?
So I don't think they're getting swept. I'm just going to get that out of the way right now. Now, do I think they're going to win the series? No. Do I think the Sixers should be minus 1,000 or minus 900? Hell no. I think they should be closer to minus 500. It's mostly because of the James Harden injury. I get Embiid is elite, and the Nets can't guard him. I'm aware of that. However, we know his injury history. We'll see how he holds up. He was battling some leg issues at the end of the year, but he had a couple massive games, dropped 50 against the Celtics. I'm assuming he's fine. However, James Harden has really looked horrible for the last couple of weeks there. And if the Nets do decide to double team Embiid all the time, and you force Tobias Harris and James Harden to make shots, will they make shots? I don't know. But I'm not picking them to win in 4 or 5 because of that. I think the Nets have enough versatile wings to make life interesting for the Sixers on occasion. And I think as a result, they can win a game or two. So once again, I'm not picking the Sixers to sweep. I'm not picking the Nets to win the series. Personally, I have Sixers in 6.
Okay. Terrell, what do you think about this series between the Sixers and the Nets?
I don't think it's close. I'm all over the Sixers. I will actually say I think that there's a pretty good possibility that the Nets don't win a single game.
If Harden was healthy, I would take the Sixers to sweep. But I do think Harden one game is going to go 4 for 17, and they're going to lose a game.
But I think that's where Tyrese Maxey kind of comes in because, I mean, he's had a really good season.
He's been quiet lately, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, but again, they haven't really needed him. I mean,
that's my point, though, is that I think Maxey could handle it, but I think Harden, and with Rivers relying more heavily on the veteran guys, I think they might force Harden early on in the series to do a lot, and when they realize he can't handle it, then they'll pivot to Maxey and they'll dominate. But if they lost game 1 or game 2 because Harden was horrible and they kept giving him extra opportunities when they shouldn't have, I think they could lose one of the first 2 games in the series.
Okay. I think I'm more with Terrell here. I just don't think this is
I truly...
Once again, I'm not picking the Nets to win the series, so...
No, I think... No, we get that. I mean, they're minus 900. I'm sure everybody's picking them to win the series, but at the end of the day, I don't think that the James Harden situation in this series right here means enough, because I think that, one, while the Nets are okay defensively, I think offensively that they're not going to be able to get anything going on Philly's defense. Like, I think Philly's defense, especially in a slow-paced game, as we expect this to be all series, working out of the half court, I'm not really certain 100%, even though I do like Jacques Vaughn as coach and really, really like him as a coach. I haven't seen him in a playoff series. I don't know where the adjustments are going to come in against a team that is clearly better than you. I think that the price is warranted, and at looking at the personnel, especially how Philly's been playing defense coming out the second half of the season, that I think that this could be really, really tough for the Nets, where they give us some fun games, and we have a couple of fun games, but there's also some blowouts here where Philly just kind of runs away with it. So I think it's pretty easy, and I like Philly in 4, and I'll give the Nets 1 game, worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, the Sixers won all 4 games during the regular season. 2 games,
and 2 of those, but the last one was the last game of the season that they just played, and then they won one when it was like one of the new, like when everybody from the Nets just got there. I think it was like their second game together or something like that.
That was the game where Dinwiddie hit the 3-pointer that didn't count because it came after the buzzer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the one time they played with these actual rosters was a nail biter that went down to the wire. So I know playoff atmosphere is different. I'm just saying, I think that the amount of wings that the Nets have is not good enough to win a series because they don't have enough scoring. But it wouldn't surprise me if they really do some things defensively that throw everybody else besides Embiid out of whack. That wouldn't totally surprise me.
Okay, so I think we're obviously all on the Philadelphia 76ers here. So series prop bets, if anything sticks out to you, Scott, lead us off.
So I got the Sixers in 6. I'm not exactly sure what price that is. It probably is going to be a decent price because most people have them in 4 or 5.
4-1.
Okay. I think that has some value to it. I think if you want to go for the serious long shot, Nets win game 1, Sixers win the series. I think if the Nets are going to actually make this somewhat interesting, they might steal game 1. And you might remember in the Simmons versus Jared Dudley trash talk rivalry series from a couple of years ago, Sixers dominated. They won the series. But the Nets did win game 1. We have seen the Sixers on occasion kind of come out sluggish in game 1s. And if the Nets are going to throw some unique wrinkles defensively at the Sixers, maybe they struggle. Then they'll make adjustments and Embiid takes over. Or maybe the Sixers just think we're going to smack this team and they overlook the Nets early on. I don't know what the price is there. What's the price on Nets to win game 1, Sixers to win the series?
5-1.
Yeah, 5-1.
I don't mind that either. I kind of wish it was a bit more. If it was like 7-1 or 8-1, I'd probably take it. 5-1's maybe a little bit low, but I'll go with the Sixers to win in 6.
Terrell, anything from a playoff series props perspective you're looking at?
I like the series to go under 5.5 games. Little juice there, minus 160. But ultimately, I think I'm just going to take my hand on. I think we get one sweep in the first round. And if it's not the Suns, then I think it's going to be this one here. So,
yeah,
I think the sweeps are just going to be Boston and Milwaukee. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like, I think the 1 seeds are going to roll in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this Nets team just kind of scratched and clawed and found their way here. But and it just gives me last year going up 3-0 against Toronto, losing 2 straight. Like, you want to close those, you want to close series out, and you want to go home to the crib, rest up. I think this is the year Embiid and them finally do it. So I'll take the plus 240 on it ending in 4 games.
I mean, if you told me Embiid was going to average 38 and 12 in the series, or 35 and 15, and the Sixers 1 and 4, I wouldn't say that you're automatically wrong. I think the Nets will find a way to win a game or 2, but I'll lean 2 for the 4-1 odds.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm with Terrell here, under 5.5 on the series total games. I think, yeah, it ends either in a sweep or 5 games max. 4 games plus 240, and then 5 games is at plus 195. Anything else for this series, guys?
Nope.
I'll take the over and whatever the hell Embiid's point per game averages.
Yeah. We'll have to dig that up for sure.
I like the under on Harden's points per game average as well.
All right. All right, let's get over to the last series that we know is confirmed. That is going to be the 4-5 matchup in the Eastern Conference. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they have home court advantage against the New York Knicks. These two teams obviously did match up during the regular season. The Knicks actually won 3 out of the 4 games during the regular season. They were 3-1 against the spread as well.
One game was the game that Evan Fournier was in the lineup. I just want to make sure that that's on record.
And the Knicks also won a game without Randall, and I believe Barrett. Did Barrett play in that game?
I think that was a game he was out with like illness.
He was also out, and they won anyway because Brunson dropped like 46 points.
40-something, so,
yeah. But again, the one win came with Evan Fournier getting significant minutes for the Knicks. I just want to put that out there.
2-2 on the total, so not much there for both of these teams. Looking at the series prices for this matchup, I currently see the Cavs are minus 200 to win the series. Knicks are plus 160. We'll get into the series spreads and all that good stuff here, but first we can, discuss the matchup overall. Terrell, lead us off, my man. Your New York Knickerbockers are,
I don't know,
an underdog against.
I said I don't know. Y'all convinced me. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing in this series.
I'll start with this. I'll say this. We had 2 years ago when the Knicks did make the playoffs, when Julius Randle won the most improved player. I think they were 41 and 31 in that shortened year when they only played 72 games. You take a look at that roster that made the playoffs and actually started the playoff game against the Atlanta Hawks. It was Julius Randle, Reggie Bullock, Nerlens Noel, Elfrid Payton, and RJ Barrett. And then off the bench, you had Derrick Rose playing significant minutes, Taj Gibson, and Alec Burks.
You can argue that Rose was their only good player in that entire series.
Yeah.
You can make a serious argument.
Which leads me to the point of this year, 2022, where you have Julius Randle, Quentin Grimes, Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, and RJ Barrett. And off the bench, it's probably going to be Emmanuel Quickley and Josh Hart. First two guys probably off of that bench, and I think we'll see Obi Toppin getting some type of minutes.
No, he's not getting any minutes. He's not getting any minutes.
So let's just say it's a 7-man rotation.
No, Toppin just proved he has some trade value. That was purely an audition.
That was it. He's not seeing the floor in the playoffs.
He doesn't play enough defense for Thibodeau to use him.
Hartenstein's coming in.
Hart will be the first three guys. Hartenstein, Hart, and Quickley.
Yeah, Hart's going to play like 30 minutes a game. Yeah, Hart's going to get a significant role in the series.
So I think just by adding Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart to this 2022 roster, compared to the guys that they had out there, which Julius Randle was atrocious in that series against the Atlanta Hawks. Now Julius Randle again. Scott, I'm sure if you have any updates about, I know we were talking about that offline before we got on about Julius Randle, but just by having Jalen Brunson, where we saw what he was able to do with Dallas without Luka, I think it was last year in the playoffs. I think that is going to be huge in this series. Now you have Donovan Mitchell, you have Evan Mobley, and those guys on the other side. I think this is the one series, at least in the first round, that I think nobody would be shocked if we get it to go at least 7 games. In this
at
series.
Least 7 games?
I'm sorry, going 7 games.
So yeah, what else? Yeah, like are we getting 8, 9,
8 or 9?
7 games.
11,
7 games.
12,
going
13,
7 games.
Not
I
7,
like the Knicks
not
here,
8,
man.
Not 9.
I'm going with the Knicks plus 160 in this series. I just think that Jalen Brunson is just going to have a monster series in this series against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know you have Donovan Mitchell on the other side. I know Cavs do also come in with the number 1 defensive rated team for the season, but I think the one thing that's really sticking out to me, and again, this depends on Julius Randle, is that the Knicks were one of the better, if not the best rebounding team in the entire association throughout the entire year. They had the best paint defense where they allowed the least amount of points for the entire year. The Knicks were tied for the second best road spread this entire year as well. I know Cavs were a great road team as well. Home team as well. But I just feel like this Knicks roster with the additions that they added with Jalen Brunson, with Josh Hart, Quickley is going to play minutes here as well. You guys talked about Hartenstein as well. It's going to be an 8-man rotation. I think a lot of it is just going to come down to what contribution, number one, and the health of Julius Randle, but also what you're going to get from Emmanuel Quickley in this series. So I think that for me, and you kind of look back at the season series, I just feel like this Knicks team does have this number of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, we know, is going to get his. Darius Garland is going to be good as well. But after that, I think there's this fall off to me where I feel like there's more scoring options for the New York Knicks. And again, when we talk about when we get down to the playoffs, defense and rebounding, and we just, like I mentioned, Knicks having the best rebounding team and the best paint defense, I think that's what's going to be the difference here. So I'm going to go with the Knicks in this series. Scott, what do you got for this series?
I think for the price alone, I'm taking the Knicks. The more that I thought about this series, I think that a lot of the flaws that the Knicks have, the Cavs also have. And we don't know about Randle yet because they said he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. It's going to be 2 weeks in a couple days. So we have to wait and see how he's going to look or how the examinations are going to come back, and we'll go from there. The main issue that I have with the Knicks is the fact that they are not very good in the fourth quarter offensively. However, I've roasted the Cavaliers all season long for not being a good fourth quarter offense either. So I think that kind of cancels out. Now, if you want to talk about the depth, I think that the Knicks have a better bench than the Cavs. I know that LeVert has had a couple of decent months here and there, but I'll believe it when I see it in the playoffs. They're using Rubio, and I'm not sure how much he's going to give you, but the point is, I do think that the Knicks have an edge on the bench. Now, I also want to talk about the fact that despite the Knicks being a somewhat young team with their core, they do have significantly more playoff experience than the Cavaliers from top to bottom. Mitchell has been in a couple of wars, won a playoff series or two, and he also had that insane series against the Nuggets, which his team might have blown a 3-1 lead, but we're not going to talk about that. The point is, besides Mitchell, they made the play-in game last year, in which they blew roughly a 19-point lead at home to the Hawks. Do they have any playoff history with most of these guys? No. The Knicks do. Now, was it good history? No. They lost in 5 to the Hawks. But the point is, at least a lot of the core, whether it was Josh Hart on different teams, whether it was some of the guys they brought in, or even the guys they have on the team, a lot of these players have been in a 7-game series before, and a lot of Cleveland's players have not. Jared Allen, not much playoff experience. Evan Mobley, 0 playoff experience. Darius Garland, 0 playoff experience. You can really go down the line. There's not many guys on Cleveland's roster that have been in a 7-game series against the exact same opponent. And I think eventually, as the series goes on, I think the Knicks are going to separate themselves. And I do think that even though I roasted both teams for their fourth quarter execution offensively, it goes back to coaching. Thibodeau is a guy that we have criticized on this show for some late game situations. I've been vocal several times. I think Bickerstaff is fine. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's a ceiling raiser. I think he's a floor raiser. And I think as a result, Cleveland has struggled against good competition all year long. They've been very good against the bottom feeders in the league and against, once again, I'm not saying the Knicks are top tier talent, but against good teams, the Cavaliers have really not played that well. I'm going to lean to the Knicks.
So my question to you is, and then we'll get if Steve we've convinced Terrell on his Knicks. When it comes to the fourth quarter, Scott, who are you trusting more, Jalen Brunson or Donovan Mitchell?
Brunson. That's not even a question.
I think I would lean Mitchell barely, but the point is I think it's closer than people think. And also, if you're asking who I would trust more in the fourth quarter, Brunson and Randall or Mitchell and Garland, I think I'm probably taking Brunson and Randall because I've actually seen Randall hit a couple of big shots this year. Now, I'm aware some of his possessions are horrible. I'm aware of that. But at least I've seen Randall make a couple of big shots. If they double team Mitchell and they force somebody else to make a shot, have I ever seen Garland make a big shot in the final 10 seconds of a game? Have you seen that?
Regular season, it may have happened. But again, we're talking about the playoffs, right? Like you mentioned, these Cavs players, a lot of them don't have that. Outside of Mitchell, they don't have that, the playoff experience, right? Where you talk about the Knicks. Go ahead.
So you're saying one guy. You said, yeah, maybe I'll take Mitchell over Brunson. That's fine. But if you force the ball out of that guy's hands, which supporting cast do I trust more? It's to be the Knicks. So I'm going to lean to the Knicks to get the job done in close games in the fourth quarter. That's how I look at it.
And just to kind of go to answer my own question to what I asked you, I trust Brunson a lot more to make the right play in that fourth quarter versus Donovan Mitchell. I know Donovan Mitchell's great. He can hit some clutch shots. He can get to the basket and shoot some free throws. When it comes down to fourth quarter decision making and having to make the right decision for your team to win the game, I 100% trust Jalen Brunson more, where he's not going to play hero ball, where I feel like Donovan Mitchell would play hero ball and cost his team a game and possibly the series in that situation. Terrell, you got our perspective between myself and Scott. Have we convinced you one way or the other, or to bet on your Knicks because we're both on the Knicks? What are you thinking?
All right, so you both made some points. You both have missed some points as well. Here for the Cavaliers, where I think that the X factor is definitely Evan Mobley for sure.
Yeah.
And what Evan Mobley can give on the pick and roll, what they can do to rattle Mitchell Robinson on the inside, knowing that he effectively is going to have to handle Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in some shape or fashion for the entirety of this series. Now, Julius Randle come in there and help aid that a little bit. But for the most part, that painted area is Mitchell Robinson's domain for the rest of the series. Mm-hmm. That is concerning because I think I'm starting to lose faith in Mitchell Robinson. On the Knicks side of the ball, that last time they were here and they played Atlanta, Julius Randle had no shape or clue or idea of what to possibly do against a double team. No idea. Didn't know. Lost for words. Had no idea. Deer in headlights. did not know how to handle a double team. Now he can pass out of a double team. He can make the right read. He can make the right play. Guess what? You can't even throw a double team at him now because you got Jalen Brunson here as well.
Exactly.
So that's a plus for the Knicks. Ultimately, when I look at this, I think, who do I trust more in a single possession game going down to the last minute? And who can come out with the win more often than not?
Are you talking about player or team?
Team.
Okay.
And I think it's the Knicks. Because the Knicks have so many options. Because in that last possession, you're getting Jalen Brunson, you're getting Julius Randle, you're getting Josh Hart. We know for a fact.
Quickly, if you wanted to sub an extra offense, you have an extra option there if you wanted to.
But regardless of what happened, regardless of what subs you want to make, those three are going to be on the court in crunch time. And those are three viable options to go that will make good decisions with the basketball. Donovan Mitchell is good. I think Darius Garland as a facilitator can make the right decision. But I think that I'm leaning a little bit closer to the Knicks side of the ball here. So this is how I'll play it. I think this is going 7. I think I've said this for a while now.
Yeah.
So I like the Knicks plus 1.5 at -130.
Yeah, I love that.
But I probably will go exacta and just take the Knicks in 7. And not Knicks in 7, but just take 7 games at plus 185. So those two are probably potentially on my card. It'll probably be one or the other, actually, now that I think about it. I like Cleveland to win game 1, Knicks to win the series. Plus 380. Short price, but I like that. And just saying that if there's a chance that Randall does not play, it's game 1. And then he'll come back, and it's like you're seeing a whole different new team. So I'll take that, and we'll get, something similar to that Mavericks Jazz series last year with Jalen Brunson. If you want something that is crazy, I don't think it's crazy. I'll take the Knicks in 6, 5-1.
Okay.
And it's because of the fact that I do think that the Cavs have more pressure on them than the Knicks. And that's really, really hard being the Knicks and being in the playoffs. But you got to remember, the Cavs gave up it all for Donovan Mitchell. They pushed all the chips in for Donovan Mitchell. And you're sitting here in a situation and you look at it, you have everything you asked for. You got the best player in the series. I'm pretty sure a lot of people say by far you have the best player in the series. Sure. You have a very deep core team that a lot of people are saying that you are built for a long time, that you're going to be good. You cannot lose this series. And that's a lot of pressure to ask for a lot of people that have not played this type of basketball. So I want to go Cleveland, but I think this is too close. I think this is 7. And I'd rather take the plus money now and reevaluate my situation when I get to game 7.
It's also telling when the books have Cavs to win game 1 and win the series at only -115. It just kind of tells you that they're also expecting this to be a longer series, at least get to 6, if not 7 games, like you mentioned, for this game or for the series between the Cavs and the Knicks. Anything else for this series, Terrell, you want to throw out?
No, I'm good.
Scott, as far as series props, spreads, anything you want to mention?
I just want to bring up one more time that even though I think Mitchell is a better player than Brunson, Mitchell's playoff resume in terms of wins and losses, really not great. You're trying to think of Mitchell's history in the playoffs, and
don't they only have one marquee win?
They beat the Thunder.
No, they lost that.
In Mitchell's rookie year, they beat the Thunder in the first round with Westbrook and Paul George. Besides that, his crowning achievement was dropping a bunch of 50 pieces and then choking a 3-1 lead. That's his entire playoff resume. And then he had a couple of runs with Utah where they were a 1 seed or a 2 seed, and they lost to the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard, and Mitchell vanished for part of the series. The point is, Donovan Mitchell's a good player, but a lot of his teams tend to implode in the playoffs, and you could argue that's not his fault. Some of that was Gobert. Some of that was the overall supporting cast. I get it. I'm just saying, Mitchell, when he's the main guy, has not shown me on a regular enough basis that his teams can make deep runs. And I think as a result, if Cleveland struggles early, that would kind of be history repeating itself.
So my follow-up question to you is on Donovan Mitchell. Is this Cavs team the best team that he's been on ever in his career?
It's tough because
Like-
some of those Utah teams were good.
Nah,
With
it's the
Boyan, and
Cavs.
I'm assuming this team's probably the best overall team he's been on, but I'm not gonna fully dismiss those Utah teams that they had. Like, it was before Connolly was washed. Boyan was good. Gobert wasn't a total liability at the time. Royce O'Neal was actually a decent role player for them at times. Like, I don't think those rosters were that bad. It just seemed like Mitchell had games where, I mean, last year, perfect example against Dallas, he didn't guard anybody the entire series. Like, people roasted Mitchell the entire time because he let Brunson drop the 40-piece on him. Like, I just feel like Mitchell defensively at times is mentally checked out of games when his offense isn't going for him. And I think that might come back to bite them. But I do think overall talent, the starting lineup is the best that it's been on any team he's been with.
Sure.
But I still don't like Cleveland's bench. So, I'm not sold on Bickerstaff. So I'm going to lean Knicks. The value, in my opinion, is on the Knicks.
All right. So official pick then, Scott, for this series. What do you got?
For value alone, Knicks in 6. What do you said
Okay.
that was? 5-1?
Yeah.
5-1. And then
5-1's a great deal.
yeah, Terrell, you said Knicks in 7, right?
I said, well, yeah, I like the
He didn't
Knicks
officially
in
make
7,
a pick.
but
He just said 7.
no,
Okay.
I said the Knicks in 7.
Yeah, I think
So he
he
did,
said
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I took the +1.5, but I said, ultimately I'm pulling for the Knicks in this one. I think the Knicks are going to be able to get it done.
What's
Yeah.
that price?
It's
Knicks in
it's
6.
the bench piece for me. I just think that there's a lot of options that can keep the run going off the bench for the Knicks that I do not think can get going off the bench for the Cavs.
What price is that though? Knicks in 6 and 7, because that would imply that they would win a road game in Cleveland.
Knicks in 7 is plus 700. 7 to 1, yeah. All right. I'm gonna go Knicks in 7 as well. Knicks in I think it'll be. I think I do like the Knicks to win the series, but either in 6 or 7. I'll go Knicks in 7. All right, so that is the 4 series, guys, that we just went into in depth. I think more so than some others, but let's get into some official picks here. A lock and a dog that we do like for the 4 matchups that we discussed here tonight. Suns, Clippers, Kings, Warriors, Cavs, Knicks, Sixers, Nets. Scott, lead us off. Your lock and dog could be anything, whether it's a series prediction, series prop bets, whatever you want. Go ahead.
All right. So for the lock, what was the price again on Knicks plus 1.5 games?
Plus 1.5, minus 130 for the Knicks.
I'll take that. I thought about picking something else, but every other one that we liked was like minus 160 or 170. I'm not going to waste people's time. So give me the Knicks plus 1.5 games at minus 130. Either you agree the Knicks win the series, you think it's going to be a war. Most people aren't expecting Cleveland to just roll over this team.
Mm-hmm.
As long as that doesn't happen, you win the bet. So give me the Knicks plus 1.5 games at minus 130 is my lock.
All right. And what do you like for a dog price?
For my dog, I'm trying to think of what I really like here because I think I picked the favorite in basically every series except for the Knicks, and I don't want to double down on the Knicks. What do I want to go with here? What's the Suns minus 2.5 games?
+1 on it.
Yeah, even money.
I'll take that. Give me the Suns minus 2.5 games at even money.
Okay. Terrell, what do you got?
Let's see here. For my lock, let's go with Sacramento plus 1.5 games at plus 135.
Okay.
At the very least, that's getting a 7. For my dog, let's go with Kawhi, yeah. The Phoenix assesses dominance early. Let's go with Phoenix to sweep the Clippers at plus 320.
All right. So for my lock, I'm gonna go with the Suns and Clippers under 5.5 total games for the series. I don't see the Clippers winning more
Well,
than
what's the price on that 5.5?
minus 110.
Okay.
Suns and Clippers, yeah, series total games under 5.5, minus 110.
I mean, you're saving 10 cents to get the Clippers to win in either 5 or 4. So if you think that's worth it, then sure. If not, then just take the Suns to minus 2.5 games.
Yeah,
The same
that's
thing.
true too. Yeah, that's the same thing too.
Unless
Yeah,
you think the Clippers, unless you want the extra out of the Clippers somehow destroying the Suns team.
No, I don't think. I think that'll probably, yeah, then you're right. I'll probably just take the Suns minus 2.5 then at even money. All right, as my lock. And then for my dog, I'm just gonna pick the Knicks to win the series, man. Plus 160. I mean, we talked about it in depth. I'm not going to regurgitate everything. I'm just going to go with that. Knicks plus 160. I think Jalen Brunson is going to have a absolutely fantastic series. I think the matchup to watch in that fourth quarter is going to be Josh Hart on Donovan Mitchell. I think that's going to be something fun to watch as well. So plus 160 Knicks to win the series against the Cleveland Cavaliers as my dog.
I do want to ask you, though, something
Yeah.
quickly about the Knicks series. Since we don't know about Randall's status, how many games does Randall need to miss for you to consider changing your pick to the Cavs to win the series?
2.
I feel like we should have talked about that before, but I forgot to ask.
2.
Okay. 2?
Yeah.
All right.
2. Yeah.
He can miss game 1. He can't miss game 2.
Yeah.
They can't go down 2-0.
And their first game is on Saturday, isn't it?
I believe so, but
Okay.
I was going to bring that up before and I totally forgot, but we kind of have to talk about that piece of it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. So that's going to do it for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. We went through the 4 series in depth, the ones that are cemented that we know of. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Nets win. I'm going to laugh really hard if James Harden loses a series to the Nets in the playoffs. It'd be really funny. But in reality, just looking forward to competitive basketball, looking forward to the play-in games tomorrow and on Wednesday, followed by, everything else that's going to ensue over the next month or two, where, the NBA playoffs are basically 3 months. So should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to all the games and all the bets we're going to give out here. Looking forward to making some money.
Terrell, anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow at our usual time, 11 o'clock Eastern, to handicap the 2 play-in tournament games. I think it's the Eastern Conference on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. So myself, Scott, and Delonte will be on for that, and then we'll carry on the rest of the week for our usual schedule. If anything does change, we'll definitely tweet it out and let you guys know. But if you haven't already, before you guys get out of here, make sure to smash that like button for us on the YouTube stream. If you haven't already, subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast on the YouTube channel here. Also follow us on Twitter at SGPN NBA. Make sure to follow Terrell on Twitter and Instagram at reallyrail__. Follow Scott on Twitter at Richel Radio. And you can follow me on Twitter at SportsNerd824. All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.